and they go, "You're in your 60s, you're too old. We're letting you go. You make too much money," right? And it's like, I don't want to go. I'm happy here. Yeah, but do you want to work for half? Well, of course, nobody wants to do that.
Welcome back to the program. Excited to be here on this edition of Innovate and Overcome. Our guest today has over 30 years of retail design experience. He's a well-known national and international retail design expert. He has the ability to really see the big picture at the outset of a project and then the tenacity to see it through to completion. In fact, he's one of the very few architectural technologists who is a partner at his own architectural firm. Welcome to the show, Marcel Proskow. We're so happy to have you with us here today. Absolutely incredible. I've been excited about this for quite some time.
Hello, Richard. Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
Now, we had the pleasure to get to know one another through the amazing Strategic Coach organization, something that we talk about here regularly on the show. Big fans of Dan Sullivan and Babs, who created that wonderful platform. Having been a part of your own architectural firm as a partner for over 32 years, I mean, it's really incredible, the stories, the things you've been able to build and construct and so on over the years. What I'm really excited about talking about with you is the challenge that's kind of unique to your industry, as being someone who's got the technologist aspect of architecture in place, but not the full designation, as it were. There's a real challenge in having to make your claim in the industry, as it were. And so that's something that you were able to figure out earlier on, and you really are in a very niche select group of people who've made that position where you could be a partner in a firm. So walk us through how you were able to make that a reality.
Well, when I was quite young and working in the business, I worked with a fellow who the practice was his, and he did not like anybody offering any input. He said, "Marcel, you're doing a great job for me. Never mind the ideas. Just keep doing your job every day." And it got to a point where I remember going home one evening and just kind of stomping around the living room all night going, "I can do better than this." And I'd met a fellow who had kind of opened a door for me, who ran a separate architectural practice. And I went knocking on his door with my ideas. And he welcomed me in, and it was quite a fortuitous opportunity for me. But little did I realize at the time that he saw me as a gain for him, not a gain for me. So within the guise of his firm, I started a specialty design firm. And we built this firm up. And because I was not completely sure that I had what it took to run my own business, I went on to a deal where I took a very small salary and I was going to be incentivized by bonuses. Well, the first couple of years, I was pretty excited because we were building the business quite a bit. But when it came time to sit down and talk about bonuses, I kept getting these stories that said, there really isn't a bonus this year. Because of all the expenses, Marcel, you don't understand how business works. You're just going to have to try harder maybe next year. So in my third year, I took the second year's revenue and doubled it with the same number of people. And we still didn't make money. Didn't make money. So again, there was no bonus. And that's when I realized that although this fellow had done a great job of inspiring me, he saw the raw talent that I had that I didn't even see. He was taking advantage of me. And so I came to probably one of the biggest moments of my life when I used to find this guy very intimidating when he would talk to me. And I somehow mustered up the courage to one day, while sitting face to face with him in his office, it was kind of like that Charlie Brown moment, when the teacher talked and it was always this wah, 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 wah. Well, I kind of turned him into that as he was telling me I should go do my job and work harder. And when he finished, I looked at him and I said, "I quit. I'm leaving." And he looked at me and went, "Really?" And I said, "Yep." So I said, "I'll tell you what, I'm going to go back to my office. You can let me know if you want me out by the end of the day or if you want me to work out the typical 2 weeks." He came back to see me within a few minutes and said, "All right, maybe we haven't been negotiating as fairly as we should be. So let's go back and start again." And by now my mind was made up. And I said, "Nope, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go out on my own." So what's interesting in that comment is that I had a lot of people say to me when they found out I was leaving, "So are you going to go out on your own?" And although I just said that, I didn't really mean it that way, because I looked at everybody and I said, "No, I'm not going on my own. I'm going to start a company." There's a big difference there, because I, at that point, realized I didn't want to do everything by myself. I had ideas, but this was almost like the predecessor to the Who Not How. Many years before I ever saw that book, I realized I needed people. And
Mm,
I had a great idea, and I could take it outside the four walls I was within and make a success out of it. But I needed people around me. And I started handpicking who I thought would work. And fortunately for me, I had a good enough reputation that my clients just moved right over to my new office and started supporting us. And I very quickly was able to hire 5 people. And the rest, as they say, is history.
mm,
My favorite part to that was I had one client who phoned me up and he said, "I hear you've left where you were and you've started your own business." And I said, "Yep, I have done that." And he said, "Well, I'm going to go to the old place and pick up all the files and I'm going to come over." He actually went and rented a pickup truck, got all the files, drove to my new office and said, "Now I brought you the files. You're going to unload them, but you now have all my business." So, we had a lot of good things that started this process and a little bit of nerve wracking. I hadn't intended to do this. And people looked at me and said, "Well, like, shouldn't you have taken more time to think this through?"
mm.
And I realized I just had tried everything I could, but I'd hit the wall. And it was time to go out and start to make a change. And the real key was surrounding myself with the right team and then really instilling them. I have no idea where I kind of learned the importance of human relations, but it's probably one of the best skills I have and one of the best things I've ever learned because I really empowered my team to work with me. I supported them as much as they supported me. And we really built a great team and we were able to build a business that successfully every year grew, not exponentially, but enough that every year felt a little bit better.
Wow, that's incredible. Now, at the time that this happened for you, going back, reflecting on this experience, this was in the early 90s that this transpired. Is that about right?
Correct.
How young would you have been at that time, Marcel?
Well, my early 30s, and just to make it even more interesting, I might as well come full clean here. I was going through a divorce. I had a young son.
Mm,
I was living in a pretty ramshackle little house, and people said to me, "This isn't the best time to be quitting your job, Marcel." But you know what? It was important. It was something I had to do because I just could not continue to be taken advantage of.
mhm,
And so what I did was in starting this new business, I created a profit sharing program. I paid my staff well, and I did everything I could to not have them feel like I was treating them the way I had been treated.
right.
I took a lesson from that, and I just said, "We're not going to make that happen." And the interesting thing that when you do that with people is that you build loyalty. And I've had a lot of people work with me a long time. As I was preparing for this, I was thinking about it and sort of having my own little internal conversations. And I realized I have a lot of people who've worked with me for over 10 years.
Wow.
In fact, last year, with our present format, we celebrated 7 people hitting a 10-year anniversary. And that doesn't happen if you don't treat people well.
It especially doesn't happen in this day and age. It's less and less common, it seems, as the years go by.
But if you build that culture and if you support your team, if a client calls me and they're all upset, I will always listen to a client, but I will not throw my team under the bus. I will say, I will get back to you. I go talk with the team member. We figure out the best way to remedy the situation together.
Mhm.
Because moments happen in everybody's life, in everybody's career. And if you can get through them and pull together, it makes the tough times a lot easier.
Yeah. And in the business of architecture, construction, there's cycles that happen when economies are good and certain locations and geographic locations. There's a hotspot and a hubbub of activity, but you
Mhm.
may or may not have an inroad to that geographic location. And so there are these market cycles, and those would be some of the tough times when there's you have got great work that you can produce, but there's no one ready to hire for that great work. And so how have you found being able to navigate some of those challenges over the years?
Well, it's interesting because my accountant always gave me a bad time on this, but I tended to leave a lot more money into the company than I probably should have from a personal perspective. But what that enabled me to do is if we hit tough times, people in my business panic if they're not busy.
Hmm.
They think, oh, we're going to get laid off because of the cycles that you just talked about. And we always made sure we had enough reserves that we could carry people for up to 6 months. And
Hmm.
the cycles don't usually last longer than that. Particularly, I was doing this in Calgary, which has a roller coaster economy, but the dips happen fast and furious, but the rises happen the same way.
Hmm.
And so you can usually recover pretty quickly. But when we hit those periods, we all just sort of hunker down. Not going to get raises this year, but you're not going to lose your job. So let's take this time to learn, to support each other, pick up some new programs, some new training, because it's going to turn around again. When the pandemic happened, um, my staff were terrific. We all really pulled together with each other. And I can't tell you how many clients, when they started working again, said to me, is so and so still with you? And I could proudly say yes. And that made them feel so good because they just picked it right back up with the people they knew, no learning curve, no training staff for a particular client. And it's been fantastic. We've actually had bigger growth since pandemic than we ever had leading up to it. And I think it's because of that ability to provide continuity with people. So, if there's a thing that I can say, we tend to have this habit of wanting to grab everything we can out of our businesses as we're moving along. But there's a lot to be said for some really good, solid planning at that level and build a solid company that will carry you through. Because I think the ups and downs, they're going to happen no matter what you do, no matter, how busy you are or how slow you are. These cycles, they're part of life.
Well, prepare for the cycle is what I'm hearing, and that's absolutely phenomenal advice. Very logical, to the point. So thank you for that. And we're going to get some more of this incredible advice and hear about some more overcoming aspects when we return after this incredible commercial break.